listening to the Horror Shots Podcast.
Hello again and welcome to another Horror Shots Podcast with me, Casey. I want to take a moment to just thank you once again for checking out my YouTube channel. While I didn't get a ton of views, which I kind of expected, I did get a few, and it's more than I can ask for. So if you did check it out, thank you. I just put a new one up the other day about the new Fantastic Beasts movie, which came out earlier this year, or I guess last year at this point, 2018. That's the Fantastic Beasts 2, Crimes of Grindelwald. It's a good flick. Check it out. Check out my review on YouTube as well. The link will be in the description of this podcast. Now, you may be wondering why I did a review on a Harry Potter movie. It's not horror. It has nothing to do with horror. Well, it's true. But if you have been listening for, the past year or more, you'll know that I don't just focus on horror. A lot of it does take place within the realm of the magical or the fantastic. And from that movie, I thought about a very famous bird. Yes, a bird. This bird you may be familiar with. It's a bird that rises from the ashes once it's met its doom. This bird is usually depicted in a fiery glow. This bird is the phoenix. Now, the information I have here is from ancientorigins.net. The link to the article will be in the description as well. To start things off, the symbolism of the phoenix, like the mystical bird itself, dies and is reborn across cultures and throughout time. Ancient legends paint a picture of a magical bird, radiant and shimmering, which lives for several hundred years before it dies by bursting into flames. It is then reborn from the ashes to start a long, new life. So powerful is the symbolism that it is a motif and image that is still commonly used today in popular culture and folklore. The legendary phoenix is a large, grand bird, much like an eagle or a peacock. It is brilliantly colored in reds, purples, and yellows, and it is associated with the rising sun and fire. Sometimes a nimbus will surround it, illuminating the sky. Its eyes are blue and shine like sapphires. It builds its own funeral pyre or nest and ignites it with a single clap of its wings. After death, it rises gloriously from the ashes and flies away. The phoenix symbolizes renewal and resurrection, and represents many themes, such as the sun, time, the empire, metempsychosis, consecration, resurrection, life, in the heavenly paradise, Christ, Mary, virginity, and the exceptional man. Tina Garnett writes in The Phoenix in Egyptian, Arab, and Greek mythology, the long-lived bird, quote, when it feels its end approaching, it builds a nest with the finest aromatic woods, sets it on fire, and is consumed by the flames. From the pile of ashes, a new phoenix arises, young and powerful. It then embalms the ashes of its predecessor in an egg of mirth, and flies to the city of the sun, Heliopolis, where it deposits the egg on the altar of the sun god. There are lesser-known versions of the myth in which the phoenix dies and simply decomposes before birth. The Greek named it the phoenix, but it is associated with the Egyptian Bennu, the Native American thunderbird, the Russian firebird, the Chinese feng huang, and the Japanese ho. It is believed that the Greeks called the Canaanites the Phoenix or the Phoenicians, which may derive from the Greek word phoenix, meaning crimson or purple. Indeed, the symbology of the phoenix is closely tied with the Phoenicians. Perhaps the earliest instance of the legend, the Egyptians told of the Bennu, a heron bird that is part of their creation myth. The Bennu lived atop Benben stones or obelisks and was worshipped alongside Osiris and Ra. Bennu was seen as an avatar of Osiris, a living symbol of the deity. The solar bird appears on ancient amulets and as a symbol of rebirth and immortality, and it was associated with the period of flooding of the Nile, bringing new wealth and fertility. Greek historian Herodotus wrote that priests of ancient Heliopolis described the bird as living for 500 years before building and lighting its own funeral pyre. The offspring of the birds would then fly from the ashes and carry priests to the temple altar in Heliopolis. In ancient Greece, it was said that the bird does not eat fruit, but frankincense and aromatic gums. It also collects cinnamon and myrrh for its nest in preparation for its fiery death. In Asia, the phoenix reigns over all birds, and it is the symbol of the Chinese empress and feminine grace, as well as the sun and the south. The sighting of the phoenix is a good sign that a wise leader has ascended to the throne and a new era has begun. It was representative of Chinese virtues, goodness, duty, propriety, kindness, and reliability. Palaces and temples are guarded by ceramic protective beasts, all led by the phoenix. The mythical phoenix has been incorporated into many religions, signifying eternal life, destruction, creation, and fresh beginnings. Due to the themes of death and resurrection, it was adopted as an early symbol in Christianity, as an analogy of Christ's death, and 3 days later his resurrection. The image became a popular symbol on early Christian tombstones. It is also symbolic of a cosmic fire some believe created the world and which will eventually consume it. In Jewish legend, the phoenix is known as the Milchem, a faithful and immortal bird. Going back to Eden, when Eve possessed the apple of knowledge, she tempted the animals of the garden with the forbidden fruit. The Milchem bird refused the offer and was granted for its faith a town where it would live in peace almost eternally, rebirthing every 1,000 years, immune to the angel of death. The phoenix is also an alchemical symbol and represents the changes during chemical reactions and progression through colors, properties of matter, and has to do with the steps of alchemy in making the great work, or the philosopher's stone. Modern additions to the myth in popular culture say the tears of the phoenix have great healing powers, and if the phoenix is near, one cannot tell a lie. I feel like that came from Harry Potter, just a side note. Continually morphing and remorphing, the phoenix represents the idea that the end is only the beginning. Much like this powerful myth, the symbol of the phoenix will be reborn over and over and over again in human legend and imagination. Other than just appearing in Harry Potter stories, the phoenix does make a few other appearances throughout history. The Old English Exeter Book contains an anonymous 677-line 9th century alliterative poem consisting of a paraphrase and an abbreviation of Lactantius, followed by an explanation of the phoenix as an allegory for the resurrection of Christ. It goes as such: the bird's nature is much like to the chosen servants of Christ, pointeth out to men how they bright joy. Through the Father's aid in this perilous time, may under heaven possess, and exalted happiness in the celestial country may gain. Dante also refers to the phoenix in Inferno, Canto XXIV, which is 24, I believe. Even thus by the great sages, 'tis confessed the phoenix dies, and then is reborn again, when it approaches its 500th year. On herb or grain it feeds not in its life, but only on tears of incense and amomum, and nard and myrrh are its last winding sheets. Later on in the play Henry VIII by Shakespeare, the king says in Act 5, Scene 5, in flattering reference to his youngest daughter, Elizabeth, who would become queen, "Nor shall this peace sleep with her, but as when the bird of wonder dies, the maiden phoenix, her ashes new create another heir. As great in admiration as herself, so shall she leave her blessedness to one, when heaven shall call her from this cloud of darkness, who from the sacred ashes of her honor shall star-like rise as great in flame as she was, and so stand fixed." The phoenix has been a very important figure in many cultures throughout time and history, and no more so than in today as well. The phoenix is a symbol for new beginnings, for resurrection, and for belief that anybody at any time can start over fresh. It's a very calming thought to be able to just start things over. I think a lot of us have been in that position where we just think, it's time. If I could start over tomorrow with a fresh life, I would. And the story of the phoenix kind of brings hope and faith into that equation, showing that maybe, just maybe, we aren't trapped as much as we think we are. Now that does bring us to the end of the episode. I do apologize for it being a little bit shorter, and as always, if you are interested in contacting me, you know how. You can find me on Instagram at Horror Shots Photography, on Twitter at Horror Shots Pod, Facebook at Horror Shots, or you can check out my website at horrorshots.com. Also, don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description. Furthermore, if you do enjoy what you hear on this, do please leave a review. Every little review helps, and I'd like to know what you think. If you don't like it, let me know. It's a great democracy of the internet that you can tell people what you think, whether you believe it or not. If you just want to be a troll or if you want to be grateful, either way, I'm open to anything. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well and leave a comment or two. I've had one comment and I do plan on looking into the suggestion there. So if you have a movie you want me to review and tie it into the podcast, absolutely let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that. So with all that said, until next time.